All righty, well, we are ready today to look at decimals and fractions a little bit differently than we have been, but it's not hard at all. I think you'll do just fine on this today. Our goal is to represent mixed numbers with units of tens, ones, and tenths with place value disk. And on your assignment today, you'll have place value disk already there on the number line and in expanded form. So we've done place value disk before, we've done number lines before, and we've done expanded form before. We've just never done expanded form and those other things with decimals. So that's the only difference today. So we'll just make sure we pay attention. And if you watch Mr. Walker's video, he had some great examples. We'll look at several examples. It's a little bit lengthier today, lengthier assignment. So pay attention. I'm going to work a lot of examples for you today so that you'll know how to do your problems on your homework. All right, so number one says, use the place value chips to answer the questions below. All right, so the first thing it asks us is, how many tenths are shown? All right, well, we can just count them and see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. There's 28 tenths shown. And I'll write 28 tenths in decimal forms using ones and tenths. Okay, so what we can do when we have these place value chips is we can find wholes. And we know that in fractions, we remember that 10 tenths equals one whole. So every time we can circle 10 tenths, we have a whole. So here's a group of 10 tenths. So that's one whole. Here's another group of 10 tenths. So there's another whole. So we have two wholes. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 tenths more. So in decimal form, using ones, we have two ones, two wholes. And tenths, we have 8 tenths, we said. So 2 and 8 tenths. How much more is needed to get to 3? Okay, well, we have 8 tenths. We need 2 tenths more, right? To get to 3, 8, 9, 10. 10 tenths would give us another whole, and it would make the number 3, okay? Or we can look up here and say, how many more do we need? Well, we would need 0.1, 0.1 to get another group of 10, so we would need 2 tenths more. If you want to see it in picture form. Okay, so let's look at another one like that. All right, now these are in groups of 10 already, so let's go ahead and do this. We've got a group of 10 here, a group of 10 here, a group of 10 here. So it's 10, 20, 30, 31, 32, 33. Altogether, there are 33 tenths shown. I just skipped counting them one by one because I know these are in groups of 10. So 10, 20, 30, 31, 32, 33. Write in decimal form using ones and tenths. Decimal form. So every group of 10 tenths, remember, 10 tenths is a 1. So here's 10 tenths, there's 1. Here's 10 tenths, there's 1. Here's 10 tenths, there's 1. So I have 1, 2, 3 wholes. And how many decimals are left? How many tenths are left? 1, 2, 3 tenths more. So we would say that 3 and 3 tenths. 3 and 3 tenths. How much more is needed to get to 4? Well, we would have to have how many more? We'd have to have 1, 2, would make 5, and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more, or 7 tenths more. If I have, think about 3 tenths, what do I need to get to 10 tenths? To get to 1 more, you would need 7 tenths because 3 plus 7 is 10 tenths. So 7 tenths. Okay. Let's throw in some expanded decimal form now. Don't let that confuse you. It's not so hard. Now, be careful when you get to the third problem on your homework, because now we don't just have tenths. Now we've got tens, we've got ones, and we've got tenths. So we have to be careful and make sure we count these right. So I have 4. You might want to, on your homework, you might just want to jot these things down on a sheet of paper. If you have 4 tens, that's 4 times 10, and that's 40, okay? I have 2 ones, that's 2 times 1, and that's 2. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tenths, okay? So write in decimal form using tens, ones, and tenths. So I have 4 tens. I'm just going to put that in the tens place. I have 2 ones. Going to put that in the ones place. And I have 6 tenths. I'm going to put that in the sixth place. And if you added 40 plus 2 plus 6 tenths, you would get 42 and 6 tenths. Okay, so just take these and count them. 1, 2, 3, 4 in the tens place, 2 in the ones place, 6 in the tenths place. Don't make that harder than it is. That's pretty simple. Write it in decimal expanded form. So we're going to write these in parentheses. 4 times 10, we have 4 tens, plus 2 times 1, we have 2 ones, 1, 2, plus, how many tenths do we have? 6 times the tenth, okay, equals 42.6. Okay. On your homework today, let me check while I'm looking right here. I can check real quick. I don't think you'll need to write equals, but I'm going to check and make sure it doesn't want you to write the equal. Give me 1 second. No, you don't need to write it, and you don't need to write the equals. So I'm just making sure, so you can leave this part off on your homework. You don't need to write that. Just write it in the decimal expanded form like this. All right, so I won't do that equals on the next one. All right, this next one, we don't have the place value chips. We've got it written out. We have 1 10, we have 7 ones, and we have 5 tenths. So write it in decimal form. We have 1 10, 1 in the tens place, 7 in the ones place, 5 in the tenths place. Decimal expanded form, we're going to have 1 times 10, 1 in the tens place, plus 7 times 1, there's 7 in the ones place, plus, I did that wrong, sorry. That's okay. Well, no, I didn't. I got confused, sorry. Plus, we have 5 times a tenth. There we go. Okay. So 1 times 10, 7 times 1, 7 in the ones place, and 5 times the tenth. There we go. Decimal expanded form. We'll work some more like that. 2 tens, 3 ones, 2 tenths. We're going to put a 2 in the tens place, a 3 in the ones place, a 2 in the tenths place, 23 and 2 tenths. Decimal expanded form, we have 2 times 10, 2 in the tens place, plus 3 times 1, 3 in the ones place, plus 2 times a tenth. Should be 0.1, sorry. That's it. I keep doing something wrong on every one of these. My bad. So let me go back and fix that because I don't want to confuse you. On these with the tenths, you should be writing 6 times 0.1, 5 times 0.1. Write it as 0.1 is how we write a tenth. I was forgetting to put my 0. All right, this next one, number 6, 7 tens, 4 ones, and 7 tenths. A 7 in the tens place, a 4 in the ones place, and a 7 in the tenths place. Maybe I'll get it right this time without making one mistake. You think I can do it? Let's see. 7 times 10, there's 7 in the tens place, plus 4 times 1 in the ones place, and plus 7 times 0.1 for the tenths place. There we go. I don't think I messed up that time. You getting the hang of this? It's not that hard. The expanded form using the decimals is a bit new, but I know you can get it. I'm going to do another one like that, except we're going to add one more question to it. So now we have, say that fraction. That's 3. The sun's shining in over here, isn't it? Making lots of shadows. 3 and 9/10. Write it in decimal form. Well, 3 and 9/10. Write it in decimal expanded form. We don't have any tens, do we? We just have a 1. So it's going to be 3 times 1 plus, got a 9 in the tenths place, 9 times 0.1, 9/10. Okay. So how much more would be needed to get to 4? Well, if we have 9/10, think about it like this. How much more do we need to get to 10/10? We would just need 1/10 more, wouldn't we? So, but we have to write it as a decimal, so 0.1. 1/10 more. All right, another one, except this time we've got a number line. So when you get one with a number line, remember every little mark equals a tenth. So 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 5/10, 6/10, 7/10, 8/10, 9/10, and then 10/10 would be the next whole one, wouldn't it? All right, so we have 17 and 5/10, don't we? This shows, you can see it if I can block the sun. We have 17 and 5/10. So write it in decimal form. It's going to be 17 and 5/10. Decimal expanded form. So we've got 1 in a tens place. So 1 times 10 plus 7 in the ones place. 7 times 1. And a 5 in the tenths place. So 5 times a tenth, 0.1. So how much more would be needed to get to 18? Well, we can look at the number line if we want to on this one and go, we would need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/10 more. Or we could think about it like this. If I have 5/10, what do I need to add to that to get 10/10? It would be 5/10 more, wouldn't it? 5 plus 5 is 10. So we have to write it as a decimal, though, 0.5, 5/10. Another one. This time we've got the decimal expanded form. No, we don't. We've got the fraction expanded form. But we've got to write it in decimals. So we've got 7 tens. We've got 4 ones. And we have 7 tenths. Looks like 74.7. 74 and 7/10 is how we say that. Write it in decimal expanded form. So you can kind of copy up there. 7 times 10 plus 4 times 1 plus, we can't write a tenth, but we're going to write it in decimal. 7 times a tenth, 0.1 is what it looks like. There's decimal expanded form. How many more would you need to get to 75? I've got 7/10. So I would need 3/10 more, wouldn't I, to get to the next tenth, the next whole? So 3/10 more. Last exam, couple of examples here. Same kind of problem, except this time we've got a fraction. We've got 22 and 2/10. Writing it in decimal form, it's going to be 22 and 2/10. Sorry about all these shadows and light. That sun's shining bright in here this morning. Write it in decimal expanded form. Well, we got 2 in the tens place. 2 times 10 plus 2 in the ones place. 2 times 1 plus 2 in the tenths place. 2 times a tenth. It's getting a little bit easier now, isn't it? How much more would we need to get to 23? Well, we've got 2 tenths. To go up 1 more, we would need 8 tenths more. 2 plus 8 would be 10, right? So 8 tenths more to get to the next hole, 23. Okay, and this time we've got the expanded decimal form. So we've got to write it in decimal form. We've got 8 tens. Be careful in this one. This is trying to trick us. We've got 8 times 10. What's 8 times 10? It's 80. Do we have any ones? We don't, do we? So we're going to put an 8 in the tens place and a 0 in the ones place. We don't have any ones, but we do have a tenth. We have 8 tenths, so 80.8. So be careful if you don't have any ones, you're going to put a 0 in the ones place, or if you didn't have any whatever, you're going to always put a 0 there when you're writing from expanded to the number form. How much more is needed to get to 81? Well, we've got 8 tenths. We would need 2 tenths more to make 10 tenths. So 2 tenths more. All right, your homework today is going to be exactly like this. Quite a few problems, but it's not that hard. Now, when you are typing in this on your answer, make sure you're using the parentheses symbol, which is on this 9. If you look at your keyboard, it is on the 9. So you'll need to put shift and 9, and it'll make that one facing that way. On the 0 on your numbers, you'll need to put shift and 0 to make the other side of the parenthesis. Your plus sign is at the top right above the equal sign. You'll need to put shift and the equal sign to get the plus, and shift 9, shift 0. Your times sign, you can just use an X, okay? Then your shift equal sign, shift 9, type in 2, type in X, and then let's just do this real quick. So since you've got to type these in, let's do it like this. So you're going to need to put 2 times 10. When you're putting these inside the parentheses, you don't have to put a space in between the X and the 10 and the X and the 2. You don't have to put a space. So you could just leave them all together. Then put a plus sign right after that. Just to keep it simple, don't put any spaces in our answers when we're typing them in, okay? When you're writing the expanded form, don't put a space between anything. Just put them all together, and that way it'll keep it simple, and we won't be counting them wrong because it's spaced out wrong. So don't put no spaces when you're typing on your expanded form. All right, that'll help you get that done. All right, I'm going to let you get started, and don't stress out if it counts it wrong because you forgot and put a space. I'll go back and look at it, and if you got it right, written correctly, just the spaces were off, I'm going to count it right. But if you'll just remember, don't put any spaces between anything, it should count it right. All right, talk to you later. Get on this. It's going to take you a while to get all this done, but you can do it. Bye-bye.